This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories, and welcome to week 26 of my Arrowverse weekly recap. And, well, I'm not going over too much. And this week I'm going over Legends Season 6 finale. I'm going over episode 5, I think, of Stargirl. And finally I'm going over episode 1, I don't even know what it is, of Supergirl. And I literally just finished watching the Supergirl episode. And I'm pretty ready to get into all of this, so let's start up with the episode of Legends. And I think this was a pretty good episode for most of it. I kind of wish that, well, Captain Lance, well, actually the former Mayor Quentin Lance right now, and, well, Laurel as the new Black Canary would have been able to make it to the wedding, and mainly that's just because they are, well, Sarah's family, you know, like, well, biological family, although the Legends are also. I think they should have been there, but that's not really much. My main complaint is I think they shouldn't have brought back Constantine. They were already planning to not use the character again, and I think unless he is supposed to be going into the HBO series, continuing on as the same character, as, you know, a sort of continuation of the original Constantine show, I'm not really sure, but I think that he should have stayed dead, since his death was a pretty big moment, and it felt kind of cheap for him to be brought back at the end. And looking at the rest of it, it was a fun episode. The defeat of Bishop was interesting. I was wondering at first what they were going to do with his past self. They did decide to erase his memory, so hopefully what would happen. The Fountain really has returned. And it just seems that, well, with John, nothing much has changed with him. And it seems that he's more or less the same person he was when the show started. Well, when he started coming onto the show, just a little more, you know, understanding about relationships and stuff. I don't think that ultimately he has changed too much, but he's still a good character in it because he remained the same. And I think I might have said last week he was the biggest one on there. It was last week or a few weeks ago. I mean, technically the biggest ones were always Hawkman and Hawkgirl. But since that was such terrible adaptations of those characters, we could kind of forget about them. And, well, with Mick Rory leaving the show, at least on a full-time basis, I believe he is going to be back occasionally. I think that, well, it is so interesting, and it's kind of sad to see that Sarah is the only remaining member from the original crew to make it and continue being a legend, and, well, will officially be the only one to go as a main cast member, because even if anyone does return, there would be a gap, and she's the only person who has been there since day one, and while watching, really. I think that really everything that happened was pretty crazy. And looking at the character of Mick specifically, he grew so much as a character. And I definitely saw that because, well, I restarted my viewing of Legends. I finished up The Flash a few days before, and was actually in the episode of Legends that day where, well, since you've been watching the show, I guess you know it, where we learned that Mick was Kronos, and he was so hateful and wanted to take down the team. And just to see him in that state in season 1, and who he was now in season 6, just showed how great his character development was. It was very impressive, and really of all characters, he is the one who has changed the most on the show. And really, I think that is very impressive. He's probably one of the best written characters, and his slow but good redemption arc to him becoming a father was done very well. It was very interesting, and I nearly forgot to put that in because I was thinking I knew there was something I wanted to talk about with the Legends episode. And then I was talking about it still, and I was like, oh, the mixed part. I had to talk about that. And as I said, just how much he's evolved as a character has been amazing. And talking about some final stuff with the destruction of the Wave Rider, that may explain why Gideon is supposedly supposed to be coming as a full character next season. But I also wonder, first off, where they're going to be spending the most of their time, since this is very similar to, well, Arrow Season 3, when they lost the Foundry when it was raided by the police, and eventually moved to the bunker. So I wonder what, well, their new Wave Rider will be. And really, with the rest of it, I'm very excited for next season. Can't wait to see what's going to happen. Let's go on to Supergirl. And I know it's something that just started replaying, but that was in my Legends footage, and I'm actually playing a little bit more. And oh, I did not like this episode. I think it was just very, I don't know, she seemed very stupid in this, and like she didn't know what was going on. And it was clear that some people weren't going to be, changing their opinions just because she spoke. And I think that she did not understand that. And yeah, the stuff with Dreamer and everything wasn't too interesting. Didn't really care about that. And the only really interesting thing is Mr. Mxyzptlk appearing. And, well, it's a Superman character. And I think that's kind of the main problem with the show, and probably part of the reason it was canceled, because it relied so much on, well, Superman content to, intrigue people. If not that, characters from, other properties, because here's the thing, Martian Manhunter is basically, a sidekick on this, and I think he should have his own show because, well, Martian Manhunter has never really been treated with respect. Well, he's always, besides for Justice League and Unlimited, well, in Unlimited he was kind of not there at all, but with Justice League properties, he's typically the guy on the side, not really doing anything. And I think that he deserves his own show, and, well, fall spin-offs I think would be the best one to get, is for him. And, well, just looking at everyone else, and I'm just not too excited for the next episode of this. And typically I'm watching the Stargirl episode before, but I reviewed this before because, well, I enjoy the Stargirl one a lot more. And I think that I'm going to be talking about in a second. Let's see. Anything else I have to say about Supergirl? Yeah, there's not too much. I am not really interested in seeing where this is going, and honestly, it had no impact on me, really at all. And going to the overall Stargirl, yeah, I think that they did another good job with this. It was actually pretty interesting. Calypso is looking to be a very terrifying and menacing villain, and honestly, I'm very interested to see where this goes. I do want to continue watching, and can't wait for next week's episode, which is supposed to be the Injustice Unlimited teaming up. But there's been one thing that's been bugging me, and that is the titles of the episodes. I think this summer school title has just been so lazy, and it feels like more something would do for like a YouTube series than a show, because I love getting, those creative titles in the name. As the thing, they could have called it Stargirl, Summer School, and then had individual episode titles. And now you're saying, oh no, they can't do that. Well, it hasn't been done before. Gotham had an, tagline for each season that was part of its title. I think there was, Rise of the Villains, A Dark Knight, I don't remember all of them, but there's a lot of them in there. And I think each season had like two besides season one, which didn't have any. It was just, Gotham. And you wouldn't see it the entire time. You would see it, let's say you go on Netflix and it would say Legend of the Dark Knight, The Beginning, which is, final episode. And I think that's how they should have done it. Because honestly, my least favorite titled episode is typically Pilot. Because I think that I just love the creative and unique names you can get for episodes, and almost all of them decided to just call the first one Pilot. And I know there are reasons, but they could be a little more creative. And honestly, there's a fun story about Pilot. The first time I ever saw the title Pilot for an episode was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and with that, I thought it was an appropriate title because I thought it was referring to, well, the character of Linda May, who was a pilot, brought on to be the pilot, but once I figured out it was, and that's why I was always confused with what pilot meant. When I saw another one, I was like, wait, why is that the same one as? Why is it being called pilot? I was like, that's why, but when I looked at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it felt like, that one actually had a reason to call it pilot, but yeah, I just don't like when they go and just use, well, especially a generic one, because honestly, for a series I was planning, I was looking at, I could do something with Clone Wars, I'll say that. I'll announce more on Saturday. But I was thinking all the episodes, and I saw season 6, or the Lost episodes, I was looking at it and thought that the Jar Jar Binks episodes in there, well, the second one was the most lazy title of all of them, which was The Disappearance Part 2. And honestly, although I think a Part 2 is, fine every now and again, I think it's so much better when you get, well, instead of having a Part 1 and 2, you get a, creative name. And this is probably going to be Summer School Part 1, 2, wherever this goes. I'm guessing about 12 to 15. And honestly, I just don't like the titling. But I think I just talked way too much just about the title of the episodes. And looking at the rest, it was pretty good. Calypso, manipulating their one teacher. Now they need a new one, and, well, why can't I think of his name? Icicle's son. I can't think of his name right now. I know he's supposed to be, I think, becomes Icicle Jr. in the comics. And he is actually not recruited because he both wants nothing to do with Cindy, and we learn his, at least grandmother, has ice powers also, and is threatening her, not to go against him, and that will serve as good motivation. But with all of it, I think that's honestly all I have to say about it. I spent a little too much time on that title thing, but it's something I think was very lazy in titling, and I love when episodes have, just fun titles, even if you have to just look at the description to see it, because they don't show it usually, unless it's a cartoon, which is honestly I always think is weird. They have all this time creating a unique and interesting name, but the only time you ever see it is if you look at the description or the episode you're playing on Netflix or something. Assuming you even put it, you go with that and you just don't play a bunch of episodes in a row, and you're not going to see its title at all if you're not paying attention to what it says on the screen. You're just watching the episode. And yeah, that's really what I have to say. But I'll be having 2 videos out on Saturday, and one of them will be, well, what you expect. It's going to be, well, it's how I expect. I'm going to have a review of, what's it called, Rick and Morty, but then also I'm going to have a separate plan for Saturday videos for, well, the next over a year. It's related to Clone Wars, but that's all I'm going to say for now, and that's really it. I'll also have my What If review out probably within the half an hour, and tomorrow you'll see my Titans review. Don't know when that'll be up. Depends on when I get a chance to record. But it'll either be out by 10, at 10 or probably 1:30 at the latest. But that's the plan. For now at least. And I am thinking that it's a pretty good plan, I will also have my Arch review out Friday, which will come out after, I think it's a Mandalorian Child Brickheads review. And, well, the 501st Battle Pack, or 501st Legion Clone Troopers. And, yeah, with all of that, that's the plan for the rest of the week. And my weekly, schedule will be in the Clone Wars video for next week. And with that, I'll see you on the next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.